Diep City is a TV series that has had Mzansi viewers glued to their screen week after week since its launch in April this year. Is it really worth all the hype, or is it just another one of those nice to haves? I can't stay. Now, Diep City is a telenovela that has us follow 4 young girls who grow up in the township of Diep City. And these young girls, unfortunately, find themselves being pulled into a life of crime to sort of make ends meet, really. And it's really been fascinating. You know, it's full of teachable moments, and it's full of drama. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I've been loving it so far, and I just want to get to know what you think about it so far.
I love it. I love it. Besides the fact that it's star-studded, I just love it. The storyline, the characters, development of the characters, their research. Research is key, guys. Telenovelas must reflect reality as much as possible. I love it. And it's something which we've never had in the country, you know, besides old school soapies and series that we've had with their scandals. But today, modern, when it comes to modern essay storytelling, we've never had it. I love it. What do you think of the development of the characters? You know,
I had a moment where I was like, okay, I get Knox, right?
Yeah.
Knox, we see her family, we get exposed to her family life, and we understand why, you know, she went into a life of crime. We also understand Sne's story, and I've loved how much they've showed us of Sne's life. Of course, it's going to build up, you know, because we've only had the privilege of watching it for a couple of months. You know, it only started in April. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of more unpacking as far as Asanda and Lerato. So, these 4 ladies whose names I mentioned are, in fact, the 4 girls whose life we follow throughout the series, and we get to really see their family as well. So, so far, of course, you know, those two Knox and Snare are the ones whose characters we really get to experience. So I've really been intrigued by the character development. You know, we've seen Knox, you know, her history. So Knox was actually in prison, you know, for the crimes that these 4 girls were committing. So we see like somebody from her past come in and try and really shake things up. So and she has a love interest as well. Snare, we got exposed to the relationship that she has or had with the father of her kids, you know. So she unfortunately she's with her brother, her twin brother, and they are orphans. So she then got involved with this guy. So we've really seen quite a lot as far as their character development is concerned. So I look forward to seeing Asanda and Leratos, really getting to know them, you know, better, a little bit better. Yeah. What do you think though about that?
I think I love the fact that it reflects how friendships can be. There's always the leader, there's always somebody who's playful, the blonde, but there's also always the home, and there's somebody who's also disciplined. You know, so each of these characters, they reflect that reality. You know, Knox is the leader, she's always strategy, she's always thinking of the best things that everybody could do to benefit, you know. And then you have the home, which is Sne. You know, she takes care of everyone but herself, unfortunately. That's the sad part about it. But she always makes sure that everybody finds a place, a safe space to just be themselves. And you have the discipline kind of person who Asanda, how Mamfundisi. But I also loved Lerato. Lerato she's the naive one. She's just the hype person. She just makes things happen. She makes sure whatever plan we have, guys, okay, asiyen, let's push, you know. So I just love that about their character development. And I also love the fact that they do it to their utmost best, you know. And yes, Knox is the protagonist of the show, but I love how the supporting characters are not always clouding her, you know, and the antagonists as well. You know, we know that poverty is the true criminal, but I think Mkedeza is doing amazing work. He's just somebody who just gives poverty that sense of personality, you know. We might glamorize it, but it's a very nice one. What do you think?
So just on the point of, how he gives a new face to poverty. For me, that the thing that always comes up in my mind as a concern is like, there's a thin line between glamorizing poverty and showing us, how much it really affects people's lives. I think we really get to see that through the four girls. We really get to see they're really trying to make something, of themselves, to change their situation around. Yes, now and then they commit crimes, in order to bring in an extra bit of money. And they run a panel beater shop now that they started with Knox. So while Knox was in jail, she learned how to fix cars, So when she came in, she was like, we're starting afresh. So we see that transformation, that sort of takes place in an effort to really fight poverty and make a different life, that despite the fact that they're living in a township and typical, of township life or synonymous with township life is poverty, So they're trying to change the narrative and reflecting a reality, for many people who come from townships. And have a background that is that they didn't really get to pursue their studies further than high school. There's also that reality that we get reminded of. So just with that in mind, it makes me think about spotlighting themes, if you were to think about what you've seen so far, what theme would you say really spoke to you, jumped out to you?
I would say in the beginning, I just loved the fact that it highlights how society responds towards people that are former inmates. They're hardly given a chance, which was the major struggle which Knox had to go through. Coming back, finding people that they just shun her because of being imprisoned. They don't look at her as somebody who's changed mindset. I mean, it's a correctional service, so they don't really look at it in that regard. They just see it as, Skelem, you are just going to cause me problems. I don't want that, So I think, and especially, we've never really seen how people react to female prisoners, former inmates. I think that one is, for me, is the greatest teaching moment.
I definitely loved when they spotlighted infertility and fertility. So this, we see it in the relationship that Mkedeza has with his wife, Momo. So they've been trying to have a child, for many years, but only recently actively, started to really make plans for them to have children. So in the process, then Momo realizes that she's actually fertile, and she doesn't know how to get her husband to really think and maybe follow through with getting tested for fertility. So it's really just an interesting theme to be spotlighted because, as a young generation, the millennials, I think we are aware of this being a reality for both men and women, and I think we're more open to having those conversations. So to have it spotlighted there, it just makes me think about older generations, but also the stubbornness that exists even within our own generation. Because the experiences that back in the olden days in black communities, infertility was always blamed on women. So if children were not, families were not seeing children in households, then they would think, this wife is barren, So as a husband, you need to get a second wife. You need to get a second wife so that you can expand, the legacy or the name of the family. And so to have the focus shifted on men brings a very important conversation to the table. That as men, do men really have these conversations? And even in our generation, do they have these conversations? Are they aware of the sort of things that can really affect fertility? And what can they do to sort of change the situation around,
You're absolutely right. Guys, men, I'm just gonna talk as a guy. We dread going to the clinic. We dread going to the doctor for anything, even for dental purposes, So it just goes to highlight that the dynamics, that how much we think we've put a stigma towards guys that go to clinics, guys that take care of themselves. It's important that we actually have this kind of a conversation.
and funny, I'm saying Diep City and I'm like, Diep City is so deep, man. You know, like it's really forcing us to have conversations, to reflect on ourselves as a society. You know, there's so many moments in it, so many themes that are brought up.
How many Biltong sticks would you give it, Tums?
I give Diep City 4 out of 5 Biltong sticks.
4 out of 5?
4 out of 5.
Okay.
And I say this because, I'm really excited about it because, again, it's so real. You know, it's so real. Every week I watch it, and I'm also that person who's like, to my stick because it's just so entertaining. And it's just so relatable. You know, it's not just, I'm not forgetting that what is being reflected is actually real. You know, I think sometimes when we're being entertained, we want entertainment in order to forget about reality, but I love that this purpose of Diep City is not to help you forget about your problems.
It's not superficial, no.
No. If anything, I would say it's to help us find like alternative solutions, you know, to dealing with our problems, and also being reminded that there is hope, you know, at the end of everything. How many would you rate?
I'd give it a whole 4.5 out of 5. I love it. I love it. Like, guys, I'm a person who cringes whenever he sees something that's bad. You know, and I just love how they introduce different characters, how they introduce different themes towards the show, and the acting is amazing. They deserve these accolades which they get. I just love it for that.
But anyway, if you've also been following Diep City like we have, you're a huge fan, or you've just heard about it now, and we're also wondering what the hype is about, do let us know what you think about it and leave your comments down below.
Local, Baba, local. And if there's a South African series or film, or an African film or series that you would like us to review, kindly let us know in the comments below and let us know on our social media pages. I'm Gomo.
And I'm Dumi, and this is the Biltong Review. Thank you for watching.